Now hear the word of the Lord from John 14, 1 through 3. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you, so that you will always be with me where I am. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
You may be seated. Well, there's two people standing up. Appreciate that. Good morning, Sojourn. Peace be with you. It's good to see you all. Welcome. If you're a guest or if you're visiting with us, my name's Jonah. I'm one of the pastors here at Sojourn. Our mission as a church is to reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's the good news of who Jesus is and what Jesus has done for us. And then to build each other up as Jesus' church and send each other to follow Jesus as instruments of truth, beauty, and goodness. So thanks for coming and being a part of it. Truth, beauty, and goodness are our core values, and I'm thankful with beauty in particular as the start of a new sermon series rolls around for all the artists in our community. This is every sermon series. We have new artwork by one of our members, and so Lauren McCarty did this. She's been a longtime member. If you know Lauren, okay, I want to make sure it was there and I wasn't like pointing at words or something, but if you see Lawrence, tell her thank you for doing the artwork for our new series called Heaven. Any guesses what the topic is for the next few weeks? Heaven. Wow, you guys are on it. So to that end, potentially you have some questions about heaven, and we're always trying to think through ways to make sure we're talking about the things when we do topics that you guys actually want to know about. So you maybe have noticed on the way in, a copy of the artwork is on a little table by the door, and then there's a box with slips of paper. And if you have any questions when you think about the topic of heaven, does Grandma really look down and see us? We hear that every funeral. Will there be chili dogs in heaven? I don't know. I don't know what you're wondering about. But any questions you have, you can write it on that slip of paper, and then the hope is over the next few weeks of this series, we'll find a way to answer those questions. We're trying our best to answer the big ones, and if we hear enough of similar kinds of things, we want to make sure that we get those questions answered too. So again, that's on the way out. Just write it on a slip of paper. That'll be out for the next several weeks. And then if you want to know more or you like studying, reading on your own, probably the best book about heaven I've ever come across. Anyone want to guess what it's called? Title? Heaven. Boy, you guys are on it. A guy named Randy Alcorn wrote a book about heaven a couple years ago. It'll help you, like 20, I guess, at this point or something. It gives different perspectives on some, more ambiguous issues, but that's at the book table. We just buy books from Amazon that we think are worth recommending to you all to save you guys the time for waiting. So we don't make any money off it. It's the same price as Amazon out there. You can pick it up on your way out if you're curious. So I really think that's probably the best resource on the topic if you want to know more. And we'll be in this, I don't know, 6 or 7 weeks, we'll be talking about heaven. Some of you have been here for a little bit, or if you're new, me and my family, we tend to take all of our vacation time at once. Which, man, I'm just telling you guys, dude, the 1 week vacation thing, that's like 2009 mindset. If you have a job where you can take your vacation time at once and really get low and get gone, I just can't recommend that highly enough. So the month of July, or I guess 3 weeks of July, we were out traveling. And for me, I have a Toyota Sienna. Amen? Anybody? Minivan? Woo! Got a Sienna, baby. And so when mom and dad in the front seat, and I got 3 kids, and the 3 kids are in the back seat, and we're going somewhere, that's almost as happy as it gets for me. I'm not exactly sure what all that is, but like being all together in the car and we're going, I love it. For vacations for us, we're not really buy ticket people, and we don't really go to restaurants so much. We are more we're going to find somewhere beautiful to go that has a coffee shop, and then, God, please, a bakery. Amen. And we'll get up and go get coffee, and then we'll get baked goods, and then we'll just piddle around. Have we talked about piddling here before? You guys know what I mean, piddling? Just piddling around, That's what we love to do. And so we don't always know exactly what we're going to do, but that's what we're going to do. We don't necessarily have tight itineraries on our day. My wife and I have been married for almost 15 years now, and that's how we've done vacations. And we've done it enough now that I know it's going to be great. even when I don't know what we're doing. And even when it's not like the most amazing thing in the world, it's still awesome. You know, even when it's bad, it's still really good. Even when nothing magic happens, we're all together and it's still good, and I love it. So I have zero doubts whenever we're planning vacations. I always look at the calendar, I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I know this is going to be awesome. I just know it's going to be incredible. My children, my oldest is 11, they have yet to develop that same level of confidence in our vacations. Or to put it in other ways, they want to know. They want to know what we're going to do. They want to know where we're going. They want to know how long we'll be there. And so, you know, we spent, I don't know, 24 days traveling in the month of July, which meant we were in the car at least every other day, which meant I had the same conversation with my 3 children 1 to 11 times a day while we were driving around. I'll give you some of the highlights of the questions they would ask. They're on the screen. Dad, where are we going? Dad, how long will it take to get there? Dad, what are we doing? Dad, how long will we do it? Dad, how much longer? Oh, just 748 times I had that conversation in the month of July. You know, my wife is in charge of the party planning committee. She has a real gift for research and finding the places and the things. So a lot of these questions, to be frank, I want to know the answer to some of these questions too. I don't always know where we're going, and I don't always know what we're doing, but we have done this enough that I know it's going to be awesome. Even if I don't know, you know, I know it's going to be wonderful. I've done it enough to know that it's going to be great, but my kids are curiously anxious. They need more details. By the 487th time I got this question, I started paraphrasing Jesus' words to his disciples here. Driving into Siena, I would look over my shoulder and tell my children, don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God, and trust also in me. Because, thank you. Thank you. They want more details. Sometimes more details than we are able to give them because of the way we go about doing vacation. When it comes to the topic of heaven, all of us have questions. Anthropologists, these are the people that study humans and their cultures for a living, have concluded that every culture, anywhere humans have lived together, there has emerged a belief that life goes on after death. There has emerged some either form of desire, longing, or confidence that life keeps on going, that we have a destination after we die. We go somewhere when our lives end. You might think of it as we have eternity written on our hearts. So to put that another way, every human culture that has ever existed has asked the question, what happens after we die? Or to put it differently, what is heaven? There's lots more questions that come from that one simple question, what is heaven? If you answer the question, what is heaven, and that sounds nice to you, you might ask something like, well, where is heaven? How do I get there? What will we do when we go there? That's what we're trying to do in this series. We're going to try to answer the big box questions about heaven. What is it? Where is it? What are we going to do there? What's it like? But I want to, on the front end, say, I'm going to try to answer those as best we can. But at some point, you got to know we'll get to a place where trust is our best option, meaning we can't have all of the answers to the degree that we want them to. And I would just caution you to beware of anyone that says they know everything about heaven, everything that's going to happen, the exact order it's going to happen, the date that it's going to happen. Nobody knows that. That's going way beyond what is written. With my kids, I'm not like God in this way because I get fussy with them. I don't get angry, I get frustrated, right? Christians don't get angry, get frustrated. Because listen, I've given them a good time for over a decade. You know? Not once. I've never gotten lost driving them somewhere. Not once. I've pretended to get lost because that's hilarious, watching them freak out while I've got GPS going, but I've never gotten lost. I've never even gotten a ticket. Mom has never picked a place that was just awful, and 2 hours in, we're like, this was a huge mistake. We got to leave. We have an incredible track record. So when we say, trust us, guys, they've got good reason to trust us. So similarly, this trust that Jesus invites us into, it's not a blind trust. It's not just like plug your nose, close your eyes, and hope for the best. He's given us really good reasons to trust him. So we have to be honest that we don't know every answer about heaven, but God has given us enough to have, the way I've been thinking about it is to have a big hope, like the kind of hope that makes your heart beat fast. And he's revealed more than enough for us to trust him. This is the tension Jesus is walking in here in John chapter 14 that Emily read for us. If you don't know the context or what's going on at this part in the story, Jesus is a few hours before his execution. If you know you're about to die and you know the way you're going to die and you know how awful it's going to be, you might expect Jesus to be the one that is needing comfort here. But he's just told the disciples that he's leaving. He's leaving them, and then soon after, you all will follow me to the place that I'm going. And the disciples, they freak out. They get scared. They're upset. They want to know what's going on. Where are you going? What are you going to do when you get there? How long will it be there? How long before we get there? How long? They start asking all of the kind of vacation-y questions that we all have too. And one thing that I find really encouraging, I don't know if you noticed it when Emily read it, but Jesus doesn't say to them, don't ask questions, which I find that so encouraging. He doesn't get mad at them for asking a question. He says, don't let your hearts be troubled. Now, some of you, we may have similar friends. I've had a friend named Anxiety. Y'all heard of him or her, depending on how you think of her or him. Now, when Mr. Anxiety comes, I never invite him over. You know, there are things that you feel, and it's not like you sit back and be like, you know what? On Monday afternoon, I am going to choose depression. I'm going to choose irrational anger Thursday evening. These are emotions that happen to us. You know, Jesus, when he says, don't let your heart be troubled, he's not saying, don't ever be scared, don't ever be anxious, don't ever feel anything. He's not talking about that. It's almost like, this just came to mind, this is a little bit gross. Imagine if your kid came up and put a piece of beef fat in your mouth, and you didn't ask him to do that, but you have the choice. Are you going to chew on that fat, or are you just going to spit it back out? Does that make any sense at all? I'll try a different way. You can't control what you feel. You know, when he's saying, don't let your hearts be troubled, he's not saying, detach and shut down all of your emotions. He's saying, when that thing fires up, that feeling that you're freaking out right now, you've got to calm down and relax. Don't work that over. Don't keep chewing on it over and over. The imagery is deep emotional worry is the imagery behind this deeply troubled word. It's like turbulent waters. And so I think this was from Ted Lasso. Somebody was getting upset at one point, and somebody said to him, hey, let's find out before we freak out. You know, so when you feel yourself freaking out, he's saying, calm down, take a breath, and then trust me. We can't control these feelings that happen, but we can control whether or not we follow them down the street or we rehearse the thoughts over and over and over. He's saying, relax, trust me. And then he gives us some absolutely, what I think is exhilarating words about heaven. So in verse 2, he says to them, there's more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? So they ask him where they're going, and notice that Jesus knows where they're going. When we hear Jesus talk about heaven, this is insider information, eyewitness account. This is firsthand testimony. We're hearing about it from a guy that knows. So again, imagery-wise, Jesus is in the front seat driving the Sienna. We are the children in the back asking him questions. He knows where we're going. And in one verse, we get some big boxes checked as we answer the question, what is heaven? So maybe the first big box to check is, what is heaven? Heaven is the destination of Jesus' followers. He says, you guys are going to come with me. They say, where are we going? Jesus says, we're going to heaven. We're going to my Father's house. So heaven is the destination of the people who are following Jesus. Second, now this starts making my heart beat a little bit fast. Jesus says heaven is his Father's house. Here on earth, when everything is going as it should be, ideally, where do families live? A house, a home. No one is saying, I really hope that when I get married, we live in a tent and move around every couple of days. Nobody says that. Like, healthy families are always rooted in homes. And so Jesus says, heaven is my Father's home, and he has gone ahead to prepare the house for us. And I just find that so lovely. Of all of the images he could appeal to, he appeals to a home, and he says he's getting it ready for us. And third, and maybe most, I think this is maybe most important, especially if you're from southern Indiana, Jesus says that heaven is a place. It's a real, physical, tangible place. Whenever, you can go do your own Bible test on this, figure out if I'm fooling you or not. Whenever the Bible talks about our eternal destination, whenever the Bible talks about heaven, it's always discussed in earthy terms. Earthy meaning tangible, concrete. It's physical. I don't know where this came from. I didn't grow up going to church, and I'm not a historian. But maybe you've heard this image of like when we die, what is heaven? We're kind of like ghosts up in the clouds. We're these spirits, and if you're lucky, you get a harp. Have you ever heard this kind of image? You float around, which I never understood. How do ghosts have harps? Because you're a ghost. You understand? I don't know where that came from. This idea that we are, I think the technical term would be that we are disembodied spirits for eternity. That picture is never in the Bible. I don't know where that came from, but it didn't come from the scriptures. Some people talk, this is kind of a melding of some more Eastern religions, like heaven is this place where our consciences just kind of merge into one, and we become this kind of melting pot of universal consciousness. That didn't come from the Bible either. Heaven is not universal consciousness. It's not floating, disembodied existence. Heaven, according to the Bible, affirmed by Jesus, is a real physical place. So, to put it simply, the way we are answering the question, what is heaven, is like this. Heaven is the place we most belong. Heaven is the place that we most belong. This confidence, this conviction was present in the first days of the church. It probably grew from this conversation between Jesus and his disciples. I'll just give you one little tidbit here that I found so interesting reading. We have a letter from 125 AD, almost 2,000 years ago. Isn't that wild? A couple of dudes were pen pals. One guy was writing to his friend, which maybe, fellas, we should bring back letter writing. I don't know. This was going on for a few thousand years. A guy named, I don't know how to say his name, Aristides, I don't know. He's a Greek guy, and he was watching this church in his neighborhood. And listen to what he said about the Christians to his friend. He said, if any righteous man among the Christians passes from this world, they rejoice and offer thanks to God, and they escort his body with songs and thanksgivings, as if he were setting out from one place to another nearby. People who weren't Christians were watching the way Christians did funerals and be like, it's like they think he's going somewhere, a real place, and they found it compelling and exciting. Heaven is a real place. Heaven has streets. Heaven has walls and buildings, and according to Jesus, it has a home for you, a home for me, and there's plenty of room there. Now, I want to dig a little deeper into what has already been said, and my hope is to maybe throw some kindling onto your imaginations, where we can start maybe, I would call it some sanctified speculation, some holy speculation on what might be going on up there. Anywhere in the scriptures you look, there is no time where a human being has no body and no place. To be a human is by nature to be physical. Physical beings always live in physical places. In the very beginning, when there was nothing, God needed to do something to make a home for these people. So he created something very large. Anyone know what the big thing he created was? The universe. In this whole universe, he was like, this is a little too much, a little too floaty. And so I'm going to make something in this universe that's a little bit smaller for these people. What is that smaller thing called? Earth, yes. And then he looked at the earth and he's like, that's a lot of earth. I'm going to make a country in here just for these people. Anybody know what the name of the country he made for us is called? I don't know. I heard a lot of mumbling. Eden. Eden was the name of the country. And then in Eden, he's like, maybe a country might even be too big. I'm going to make a little small place within Eden called the garden. So in God's original creation, he created a universe, a place. In that place, he created a planet, a place. In that planet, a country. And in that country, a beautiful walled garden with perimeters, with safety. And he then takes dirt from outside of the garden and makes it a body. But he doesn't say the body is a human. You can go read the story and watch the order of operations. The body is not a human. And then it says God has the breath of life, the spiritual thing. But that's not human either. It's not until the spirit comes into the body and flesh that we have a human being. To be a human, image bearer of God, means we are spirit and flesh. We never see a time where spirit and flesh exist apart from one another. When we think about an eternal destination, we have to think about a place where spirit and flesh are still together and have a real physical place. This is why we say heaven is the place we most belong. It's a new Eden of sorts. And Jesus has said he's gone ahead of us to prepare for it. Why is it so important to talk about a place? If you can't conceive of a thing, it's really hard to look forward to it. No, you don't have to raise your hands here, but boy, I don't know hardly anybody that has rearranged their lives because they're so excited about heaven. Most of us, and you, don't feel bad, I'll say me. I've spent part of my life thinking that heaven just frankly sounds boring. So, hey, don't worry, you won't have a body or arms or feet. There won't be ice cream there, but you'll be a ghost playing a harp for 47 billion years. Well, sounds awesome. You know what I'm saying? This abstract, weird reality that is nothing like anything we can conceive of. I found this really interesting. I've read this in Randy Alcorn's book. This is from Revelation 13. It talks about the ways that God's enemies tried to attack God. Revelation 13 says, the beast spoke terrible words of blasphemy against God, slandering his name and his dwelling. That is, those who dwell in the house of the Lord. That last part is probably better, the dwelling of the Lord and those who live there. We have a sense, we get that the enemies of God attack the character of God. He's a liar. He doesn't love you. He hates them, whatever. People who will distort the name of God, the character, the person of God. Some of us have experience of people hating us for being Christians. People attack the people of God. But did you see that one of Satan's 3 tactics in trying to undermine the work of God's kingdom is to attack the place of God? The people of God, the person of God, and the place of God. What does that mean? Well, I think one of the ways we can say Satan has been successful in attacking the place of God is how most people in our tribe, most evangelical Christians, just frankly think heaven is boring. We don't think much about it. When we do, we get a little bit scared about it. Because, I don't know, am I going to just eat plain oatmeal for 6 million years? So let's get some more imagination fuel to hopefully push back against some of maybe what you've learned or what you've been told. In Luke 23:43, Jesus is about to die. Both of these images of heaven that we've talked about come from, shortly before the death of Jesus. Here's something to be uncomfortable about. There is a convicted criminal next to Jesus on the cross. This guy did it, and he was convicted of it, and he looks to Jesus and says, remember me when you come into your kingdom. There's no real confession of faith there, no theology exam. This is a deathbed conversion, yeah? And Jesus looks at him and says, today you will be with me in paradise. So today, when? Is there this long period of waiting where we have to pay off our sins? Do we go to sleep for 1 million years and wait for, he says, today, which today in Greek means today. That's my favorite joke. All in Greek means all. It's like all these words in the gospel that make us uncomfortable. And he says, you, as that guy sitting there suffocating to death by crucifixion. And Jesus says to him, you will be with me. Do you think that in his mind he's like, I'm going to be a spirit floating around? You, all you are, you and your body. He would have had no concept of just this like spiritual floaty part of you. Today, you will be with me in paradise. And we hear paradise and we just think of it as this abstract term for like the best place. This is so neat. I don't speak Persian, but this is a Persian word, paradise. It's like paradisio or something like that. And it literally means a walled garden, a beautiful walled garden. Can you think of anything in the human story that would make us long for a safe walled garden? The image in ancient Near Eastern cultures of a safe, beautiful garden was so strong for them that they couldn't conceive of anything being better. So the word garden became synonymous with heaven. Jesus says, today you will be with me in a beautiful, safe garden. What could this mean? Here's something to think about. Nowhere in the Bible does it say Eden was destroyed. Have you ever noticed that? It never says Eden was destroyed. It says our ability to be there was. We were removed from it. Eden didn't change. Our ability to enter into it did. And have you ever sat back and wondered, I mean, isn't it just so interesting how much work humans put into building beautiful places? You ever been to somebody's house that's really beautiful and it almost makes you ache a little bit? Where you're like, oh, I wish I could do this. Or you go on vacation and you find this place and it's like, it's so beautiful. You ever had somebody make you a meal that not only tasted good but looked good and you just felt like you were doing something new or like this is how it's supposed to be? Why do beautiful places mean so much to human beings? Why do we love walking through parks? Why do we love gardens? Why do we put so much effort into building, cultivating gardens in our backyards? Because beautiful places remind us of the place we most belong. The human soul is longing for Eden because that's where we were made. It's home. We are homesick for a beautiful, safe garden. Everything you love about your life down here, by everything, I do mean everything. Everything you love about your life on earth is a shadow of heaven. Heaven, the place you most belong. Everything you love down here is derived from heaven. This is a little bit philosophical and confusing, but I'm going to try. The parts of life we love so much here are echoes of Eden. And we fall in love with the echo, not realizing that something truer, more solid is waiting for us at the source. Whatever you love down here, the idea of it came from heaven. Everything we love down here is a watered down version of heaven. So we can think about things down here and try to imagine, if this is so lovely, I wonder what's waiting for us up there. And I'll just try to give you an example. This happened to me over vacation, and it's a little bit embarrassing, but I have a ministry of public embarrassment sometimes. So some of you, if you've been going to church here for a while, you know that I have very strong positive feelings about Walt Disney World. Amen? There's only a couple of us out here, a couple of true believers. My favorite places are the Magic Kingdom and Epcot Center, and it's just magic. My favorite adventure this summer, no tickets required. We were in Canada. We drove from Michigan to Rhode Island through Canada, and we went to Quebec City. And has anybody been to Quebec City? I didn't know. No one ever told me until we saw it on Sarah Ash's Instagram page. No one ever told me, and we went, and it was overwhelming in how delightful it was. It felt like being in a fairy tale. It was beautiful beyond I can describe, and it's stuff like everywhere you walk, there's the smell of a baked good with the smell of fresh waffle cones, and then an Italian restaurant, and all the windows are open because it's 65 degrees. You're at the 46th parallel or something like that. All of the smells, and then you go around a corner, and there's like a 70-year-old man playing romantic accordion music while people dance in front of him, and then you go down the other corner, and there's people juggling on unicycles, and you're just like, what is going on here? And it was all real. And then upstairs, you see some lady, putting her laundry out in the line between apartments, and the whole thing. It felt like being in a fairy tale and old European buildings. And at one point, walking through the streets of Quebec City, it hit me. Disney is trying to be Quebec City. I can't mean it any more sincerely. Disney is a shadow of Quebec. I love Disney. But there's a part of you, if you go there, that in the back of your mind, when you're walking around Disney, you know it's all fake. Right? You know that the cast member walking around in the Belle outfit with the basket of bread is like, you're going home to an apartment in a suburb of Orlando. That's a facade right there. That's not even a real building, But we all get swept up in the idea of it. We all play along, and we imagine that we're in these places. And then you find yourself in Quebec City and realize this is the real thing. It's real. And, in some ways, Disney prepared my heart to go to Quebec City. Heaven will be something like this for us. The place that we most belong, where we will see the ways the shadows of our life down here find their true meaning there. I'm just going to try a little harder, I think. Your favorite sandwich will not be in heaven, okay? I don't know if you're going to write out your question. It's like, will I have the Willie's burger in heaven or whatever? Your favorite sandwich will not be in heaven. But when you go to heaven and you eat a sandwich, you will realize what that sandwich you loved was trying to be. Your favorite band, I don't think, is going to be in heaven. But I think when you listen to music in heaven, which maybe for some of you is like, what did you just say? When you listen to music in heaven, you will realize what the music down here was trying to be. In heaven, we will still bear God's image. We will still be humans. Nothing in the scriptures say we won't be. Humans, I've tried to say it, we were made for physical places and a physical existence. So just try and imagine everything you love about being a human down here. Everything you love about human culture down here is just a shadow of what it's meant to be and what it one day will be. So what kind of art will we have in heaven? If you love art down, can you imagine? Maybe you're real into technology. Think about the stuff we can figure out down here. Can you imagine what kind of tech we're going to have in heaven? You like dancing down here. What will dancing be like up there? You like food down here. You like culture. You like literature. If we can write these books down here, if you like sports, but it gets so much bigger than that. If you like love down here, can you imagine if this is only a shadow? If you like friendship or you long for friendship down here, what might these things be like when we are safe to be known and to be loved? Art, literature, sports, drama, technology, food, vacations, everything you love about being a human here is but a shadow of what will be there, which is why we say heaven is the place we most belong. As the series goes, we're going to talk about things like clothing in heaven. We're going to talk about streets in heaven, jobs in heaven. Can you imagine if you had a job that never felt like it was fighting you? A job that was never aggravating or annoying? We're going to talk about culture and music and food and celebrations. You'll see that we carry with us memories from earth. You'll see that we carry with us an awareness of what's going on the earth and so much more. I'm just trying really hard to help you guys see that heaven is the place with no equal. There's nothing like it. It's the place we most belong. And wonder of wonders, Jesus said he has gone to prepare it for us. Why? So that we could be with him there forever. Next week, we're going to answer the question, where is heaven? Here's the teaser trailer to try to get you to come back next week. Before you can answer where is heaven, you have to answer the question, which one? Juicy. Yeah. There's at least two of them, and we'll talk about that next week. But for now, maybe take some time to let your imagination soar with what this place, real, physical, tangible, a place you can touch, taste, smell, feel, what this place must be like. The disciples were so intrigued by what Jesus had to say here that they responded with, "Show us the way. How do we get to the Father?" And so we'll end this with the words that Jesus shared to his scared disciples. Jesus said to them, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father but through me." If you're willing and able, stand with me and we'll pray together.